I'm Jill Steen Heiss. I'm here because I grew up in America, but I've been living in France for 40 years, and I come back to America for a reason, and that is to bring hope and healing to nonprofits through my art. And it really gives much more meaning and purpose to my trips over here. So for the past 35 years, I've come in April and October for a tour of shows, and each show is connected to a nonprofit. And here in Jackson, Mississippi, I heard about McCoy House, and it has deep meaning for me in my past of having experienced loss and tragedy, and then being able to show that we can carry on and that art is a very healing thing. Today I started out this drawing workshop with the women of McCoy House, and before we started, I always feel like it's easier to transition away from our anxieties and struggles and sufferings if we have words and nature that take us into another side of the brain or another side of the heart and soul. And so I usually begin my workshops with readings and words that have great meaning to open that side that allows creativity to begin. So I spoke of my own personal journey and the losses that I have experienced in my life, who have given me more of my own identity of who I really am, that I came to know who I am with total loss in my life more than I was before the loss, when I felt like I was just a spoiled person and didn't care about anybody else. But the loss brought me into understanding how when you have nothing, you still have something much greater. The art for me has been a way to connect with nature, connect with my soul. So it's like being out in nature to create directly from nature rather than from a photograph. To me, having the machine in the midst of it is not the same as feeling the wind, hearing the fountain, hearing the birds. All of those elements of nature ignite our senses and go straight to the soul and wake up our own inner poetry that is unique to ourselves. And the experience of it is that it's half human, half divine. And when I get to that moment where I let go and have faith that what I hear, smell, taste, feel, and receive from nature goes onto the canvas or goes onto the paper, I go beyond myself, and there's a moment of grace that happens in that process of creativity that makes the work greater than the sum of the parts. 2 + 2 = infinity. But it also makes me go away on a higher plane than when I started out. I was trying to get them to just get the line on the paper to put in lights and darks that would give birth to the light. The process of seeing the beautiful flowers in the bouquet that was in the vase on the table, we go straight to paint the flowers first, or the vase. And really what it's all about is the essence of the flowers are in air and space around it. So I was helping them to go beyond the object of the flower to go into the essence of the flower by creating the negative space and drawing the negative spaces that were between the stems and the flower to give existence to the flower. And then the flower comes into being. That's much more poetic, and that's much more about how we take our journey. If we think that we can calculate and make our future be this way, we will often be very disappointed, and it would never be as extravagant and miraculous as the journey that we would have if we totally let go, went on faith, and just allowed, for me, myself to end up in the south of France, meet my husband, my second day there, and my whole life to unfold far away from Atlanta, Georgia, where I was born and raised, and never fathomed that my journey would take me there 1,000 times greater and more surprising and extravagant and fun than the path that I had thought I would go on when I left Sweetbriar College as a student. I think that the beauty that I see from being a painter all these years and teaching painting all these years is that I have discovered that it does take the 10,000 hours to get to the point where you do come into your own essence, like Van Gogh came into his own brushstroke, Cézanne came into his own brushstroke, Hemingway came to his own voice, Faulkner came to his own voice, Shakespeare, and we recognize their voice and we recognize the touche, the touch from the artist. That takes the 10,000 hours. But I have seen a first-time student several times come upon a moment of grace in their work, in their piece that they were creating, and I have marveled over it by the fact that they were so open at that moment that it does not always take the 10,000 hours to come upon this moment of grace, this beautiful poetry that just seeped out because that person didn't have a formula, that person didn't have a method, that person had nothing to prove, and they just came with all their spirit and put it down on the paper, and voila, it became something very beautiful. So I have a website that I think that you will enjoy. It's a journey in itself called artinprovence.com. It's a beautiful website that also hosts many, many videos of me demonstrating creating paintings, and most of the videos are filmed by my son, but there is one extraordinary 55-minute documentary that my son spent 3 years making, and it's called Painting the Invisible. And it's well worth the journey to watch the 55-minute documentary. Well, I've been coming to Mississippi fairly regularly since 1993, doing shows for different nonprofits. The invitation this time was with the Gallery Guild of the Mississippi Museum. So they invited me, and then I said, well, let's choose a nonprofit. So they scouted out and found McCoy House. And the person that is president of Gallery Guild is Kathy May, and she and I happened to be counselors at Camp DeSoto way back in the day, 1978, and we remained friends ever since, and she is just a wonderful person and got me back to Mississippi, and it all just unfolded, and we've been working on this project for about a year.